Hi, it's Mike with AskTractorMike.com. If you're watching this on Thursday when I release it, I'm not here anymore. I'm in Louisville, Kentucky at the National Farm Machinery Show. I recorded this video earlier in the week. And I love going to Louisville. It's one of my favorite farm shows. And today we're going to talk about farm shows, the ones that are out there, the big ones, the ones to avoid, the ones to go to if you're wanting to see machinery. I would like to ask you, if you've got a favorite farm show that I don't cover in this video, at the end, put it in the comments down below so we all know about it. Well, let's talk a little bit today about Louisville. It's called the National Farm Machinery Show, and they've definitely got everything in Louisville if you're a machinery geek like I am. And I go back to that Louisville show a long way. When I was with AGCO Corporation, we were in Louisville one year, and I'll never forget, we were staying in a hotel next to the airport. And Louisville is a hub for UPS. And there's like planes taking off and landing all day long and all night long, we found out. And so we're working the show and staying in this hotel. And there was a group of us and then some Canadian guys with AGCO. And last night of the show, the Canadian guys were having a little party. And one of our guys hammered on the wall and said, "Be quiet, I can't hear the planes land." Because if you stay next to the airport, you'll find out there's a lot of planes coming and going from that airport. So word to the wise, if you're staying in Louisville, stay in a hotel a little bit far away from the airport. But that show is one of my favorite farm machinery shows. And today I'm going to tell you about how to find the good shows if you're looking for farm equipment, tractors and equipment, and how to avoid the bad ones and how to tell. I'm going to start today talking about, if you have your heart set on machinery and you're going to a farm show, make sure you research it just a little bit. There's a show in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania called the Pennsylvania Farm Show, and they bill themselves as the largest indoor farm show in the U.S. And that's probably true, but it's a livestock show, and there's a big difference between a livestock show and a machinery show. Back in the early days when I was growing up, you had fairs that were where you saw equipment. You'd come see the livestock shows, and while you were at the fair watching the livestock show, there was a machinery exhibit. Well, since that time, shows have kind of split off. You have machinery shows, which is the kind I like to go to, and then livestock shows. And nothing against the livestock show. If you're into livestock, go to a livestock show, but you won't see much machinery there. This Pennsylvania Farm Show highlights agriculture in Pennsylvania, and they have 500,000 people come through that every year. It's the largest indoor farm show in terms of attendance in the U.S. It's in January every year, but not a lick of machinery there as near as I can tell. It's for livestock people, and the people that want to see machinery go to a different show. Well, let's talk about the big farm equipment shows if you're into farm equipment every year. There's two that are going on right now. One is the one I'm at, the National Farm Machinery Show in Louisville, Kentucky. The National Farm Machinery Show advertises 800 exhibitors under one roof. It's a big roof. There's three complexes that are there, and they draw about 250,000 people a year. So it's a huge show, and it's centrally located. I like going to Louisville. It's my pick as one you wouldn't want to miss. But also going on right now, and just about to end, is the Sunbelt Ag Expo, and that's in Tulare, California. And Tulare is in the San Joaquin Valley. It's north of Bakersfield, kind of out in the agricultural area of California. They have 1,200 exhibitors there and almost 100,000 attendees, and they bill it as the largest outdoor show in the U.S. And they say 2.6 million square feet. That's a bit over 59 acres. So it's a big show. Very diversified. They exhibit a lot of California's agriculture, the fruit and vegetable production that's done out there, and also a lot of crop production, and then they have a lot for the weekend farmer. And they do have a ride and drive there, which is nice. If you're looking at equipment, some of it you can ride and drive, and that's different than the Louisville show. The Louisville show is all under one roof. It's all indoors. The Tulare show has an outdoor function where you can ride and drive stuff around. So that's a Tulare, California farm show. It and Louisville are considered two of the national farm machinery shows that all equipment companies go to. The next farm show I want to talk about is more of an agricultural machinery show, and that's the Farm Progress Show. And the Farm Progress Show is held every year in August. This year it's August 29th through the 31st in Decatur, Illinois. Now this year it'll be in Decatur, Illinois. It rotates with Boone, Iowa. And so it goes every other year at Boone, Iowa, every other year at Decatur. And it is billed as the nation's largest outdoor farm event, and it includes 600 exhibitors, and there is a lot of demonstration going on and a little bit of ride and drive there. It's a big farm show. If you're into agriculture, production, and especially row crops, the Farm Progress Show is the show. The next show I want to talk about is in October in Georgia. It's the Sunbelt Ag Expo in Moultrie, Georgia. And the Sunbelt Ag Expo, for the amount of area it covers, is probably the biggest show in the country. They bill themselves as North America's premier farm show. They have 1,200 exhibitors, and the showgrounds itself covers 100 acres with an adjoining 600-acre working research farm. And what you'll see at Moultrie is not only small tractors and equipment like they use in Georgia, but also specialty stuff like for the peanut and the cotton industries, poultry industry. There's a lot of diversity in Georgia, and you'll see everything in Moultrie. This year's Sunbelt Ag Expo runs from October 17th through 19th in Moultrie, Georgia. It's kind of in southwest Georgia, south of Macon, not too far from the Florida line. Now let's talk about how do our shows in North America compare to shows overseas. Well, the granddaddy of all farm shows, and one that's definitely on my bucket list to go to someday, is Agritechnica. And Agritechnica is held every other year in Hanover, Germany, and it is the granddaddy of all farm shows. They bill themselves as number one, and that's all they need to say. They have 2,800 exhibitors, and the show itself draws 446,000 attendees. So it dwarfs anything we have in North America, and it's one I want to get to sometime. Now, a good part of this show is related to row crop applications and the latest in agricultural production. I don't know that they have as many items for the small tractor owner like myself and like most of my audience, but if you want a farm show that is spread out over a big area, draws a lot of people, and has absolutely the greatest and latest and greatest, and draws people from all over the world, Agritechnica is your show. There's a company called Ag Direct that is a subsidiary of Farm Credit Services, and they have put together a list of farm shows, and I'm going to put a link in the description below that pretty much covers the ones I like as machinery shows. Ag Direct does financing for the machinery industry, and because of their association there, if there's a show on that list, they probably have a pretty decent farm machinery display. So I'll put a link to that in the description below. But there's lots of farm shows around the country. COVID nearly wiped out the farm show industry, and it's a pretty big industry. You always have the big farm shows I talked about, and then a lot of smaller regional shows. And some of the regional shows are grouped together and run by one company. They'll have a show in Texas and then another show in Kansas, and have several shows under their umbrella and just go from show to show. But when you look at the North American farm shows that you can go to, there's a bunch of them. And it's always good to check out and make sure, if you're thinking about going to a show, do they have equipment? And most of the time you can go on their website and look at their exhibitor list. And if their exhibitor list is Fred's Dog Food Treat Company and Gutter Helmet and no equipment people, you know there's not going to be any tractors there. But if all the big players in the game are at the show, you can bet there'll be a big equipment display there. And that's the kind of shows I like to go to. But farm shows are struggling a little bit. The number of farmers in the U.S. continues to drop. They continue to get older. And I'm wondering, when you go around to a farm show, you see a lot of folks my age and older that are there. And when we all die out, if the next generation is even going to go to a farm show, because there's a lot of stuff you can see at a farm show personally, but you can also go online and see it too. And I'm not sure the next generation is going to go to farm shows. There are farm shows that are, like I said earlier, related to livestock. There are farm shows that are related to farm equipment, and the big stuff for the row crop farmers. There's specialty equipment shows, and then there's a few shows that have kind of a target as a weekend farmer. And I want to mention one of those, the Ozark Fall Farm Fest, where I live in October in Springfield, Missouri, is a great show. If you're in this area and you like smaller equipment, it's a good show to go to. And the final thing I'll say, if you're thinking about buying something, the shows that I mentioned, the big national farm shows, are generally staffed by company reps. And so if you want to buy a tractor and you go to one of these shows like the National Farm Machinery Show or Moultrie or Tulare or the Farm Progress Show, they're not able to make a deal with you and you take something home. They're going to quote you list price on it and direct you to a dealer. The shows I really like the best, if I'm thinking about buying, are these smaller shows that are manned by dealers that are there to sell stuff, and they'll get down and deal with you at a farm show, especially the last day of the show. And the Ozark Fall Farm Fest that I mentioned in Springfield, Missouri is a show of that type. Last thing I want to say today is beware of scams. There's some scams out there where people that are going to farm shows and want to book accommodations are getting taken for a lot of money from scammers. So if you're trying to book reservations for a hotel near a farm show, make sure it's legit before you give them your credit card number. Don't forget to put your favorite farm show in the comments down below. So check out your farm show before you go, and if you see me in Louisville running around, stop me, because I always like to meet my viewers. Thanks for watching.